I've said it before and I'll say it again. The transfer portal giveth and the transfer portal taketh away. And nobody knows that better than Ole Miss. Because while they are adding in an abundance of talent defensively, they are losing potentially their ace in the hole that was going to make them a college football playoff contender in 2024. Let's talk about the recent news of Quinshon Judkins entering the transfer portal. And if you are new here, welcome on into the channel. My name is Cole Thompson. I'm a radio show host based in Houston, and I talk college football daily. So if this is the type of content you enjoy, plus coaching searches, transfer portal news, national championship accolades, and a bunch of other nonsense, guys, we are growing rapidly. We got a backdrop coming in. We're going to start doing more live shows. So make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Leave a comment telling me your thoughts on where you would like to see Quinshon Judkins play next season. Tell your friends, your family, your mortal enemies, best of bros, college football aficionados, and Ole Miss faithful. We got a ton of you already subscribed to the channel, so keep sending out word about this place. Make sure you follow me on social media at Mr. Cole Thompson. That way, conversations surrounding our favorite sport never have to stop flowing. Quinshon Judkins is, in my opinion, like a curly fry that you find in a bunch of straight fries. That's the best way I can put it. And the reason is you don't expect it, and when it hits, it's a different feel. Quinshon Judkins was not a high-profile name coming out of Pike Road, Alabama when he committed to Ole Miss. There was not programs like Alabama on the doorstep, or LSU, or FSU, or USC, or any other major blue blood accolade program that wanted Judkins. So he hitches his wagon to Lane Kiffin and immediately takes over the offense. Like overnight sensation, becomes a fixture of the SEC, and everybody knows his name. You might as well call Rod Hemingway Cheers because that's how well people knew him. 15 touchdowns this past season, 16 touchdowns last season, over 1,500 rushing yards last season, over 1,100 yards this past season. Kid ends up having a record set that was basically Herschel Walker 2.0. And he wins SEC Newcomer of the Year at the running back position, and he is the fixture and the staple that kept the offense afloat alongside Jackson Dart that allowed him to get to an 11-2 season, the first ever in Ole Miss program history. But herein lies the problem when it comes to the transfer portal, and this is why you have to be very cautious when it comes to adding in an abundance of talent. People talk. People will always talk. People will always have opinions. They'll always want to structure out what they're going to do, how they landed here. They mention everything that goes on. And you're hearing about these kids who are coming into Ole Miss via the portal at prime positions, cornerback, edge rusher, interior defensive line, linebacker, areas of weakness that are supposed to be a strength for next season as you look to build off of this 11-2 finish. You don't understand, people. Once you get a coach that develops consistent success, that becomes the new standard. So at Ole Miss, what used to be a bountiful 10-2 season is now the expectations going into 2024. And it doesn't matter who is there. It doesn't matter who's calling the plays. It doesn't matter who is the starting quarterback, what wide receivers come back, what your offensive line is. Once you see consistent growth, that's the new standard. So plans are not changing in Oxford, whether or not Quinshon Judkins straps it up for the Rebels in 2024 or not. They bring back Jackson Dart. They fortified their defensive front with guys like Prince Umeliellen, with guys like Tyler Barron, with Walter Nolan, the #1 player in the transfer portal. You added in another weapon for Dart's passing attack alongside Caden Prieskorn, Jordan Watkins, and Trey Harris, with Juice Wells, who, by the way, had a terrible season this year because of injury, not lack of production in South Carolina. He stays healthy, watching Boot Scoot and Boogie all the way into the end zone. Kid was phenomenal in Columbia 2022. But it's going to cost a price. It always is going to cost a price. Lane Kiffin, of all people, probably knows this better than most, where the transfer portal, it always is going to cost a pretty penny. He's mentioned it multiple times. Free agency of college football. That's what this is. And so just like in free agency, when you watch going into a contract year, which for the NFL players, it's every 4 years or every 3 years or every 5 years. But for college players, it's every year. You're seeing what other players are making in the NIL collective. And it's not just the names on the outside. It's also the names being retained. A guy like J.J. Pegas, he's coming back. Why? Got a good deal from the NIL collective. A guy like Jared Ivey coming back. Why? Got a good deal from the NIL collective. Jackson Dart, I think he should have came back no matter what. I truly believe one more year with Lane Kiffin, Charlie Wise Jr., and this Arsenal passing attack, Ole Miss is going to be better for it, and he's going to be better for it because if he returned. In a year where there are so many questions at quarterback, outside of really, I would say, probably Carson Beck, and even then there's some question marks, where there aren't that many in the front row for Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams. but it was still going to cost you a pretty penny. So he comes back on an NIL deal. Barrett comes in. NIL deal is playing a factor. Don't think for 1 second the number one edge rusher in the portal is going to Oxford for the love of the game. He's going in for money. Walter Nolan. I think the kid is phenomenal. I think he is absolutely a game wrecker. I've watched him 2 years up close and personal at College Station. This is a player who will change the outcome of a game with one play. That's what you're getting. He ain't coming for free. The same thing goes for all your safeties, your defensive backs that you added in, your linebacker, as well as cost you a pretty penny. So Judkins is seeing all of this unfold, and he's wondering, where's my deal? What am I worth? Because if a defensive lineman who has not played here yet is worth, say, $250,000 in NIL collective, I got to be worth $500,000. I got to be worth $750,000. And so ultimately, when a deal isn't made, this leads to you doing what's best for your career and doing what's best for your bank account. And that's not an insult to Quinshon Judkins. I want to make this abundantly clear to Ole Miss fans out there. Number one, you still have a shot at landing Quinshon Judkins. He is in the portal. It does not mean he is not coming back to Oxford for 2024. You absolutely could see Lane Kiffin hoe down 100 miles an hour on that speedboat, wherever he is in the Bahamas, going back to Oxford, Mississippi, or going to Pike Road, Alabama, to have a conversation with Judkins. What is it going to take to keep you on this roster? What about the NIL collective do we have to add for you to come back? That still can happen. But for every price that you meet, another team can match it. And ultimately, that's really what it comes down to. Where does Judkins land? I think Ole Miss is the perfect fit for it. I really do. What you have coming back offensively, the star power of what you're going to have with the offense that you already understand, a new version of the defense that hopefully will transpire and turn into a top 25 unit or a top 30 unit, because a top 30 unit in the SEC, that's good enough to get you to 11-1. And 11-1 is good enough to get you all the way down to Atlanta. And if you're in Atlanta, I would say 9 times out of 10, you've already punched your ticket to the CFP because you have that big old SEC logo next to your name. And if we want to see continued growth when it comes to the college football playoff, make no mistake, they are not going to leave out SEC prime contenders. They will never do it in the CFP era. But again, every team has a shot to match Quinshon Judkins' record. Every team has a shot to match Judkins' advice. So Auburn could be an excellent fit for him. He's from the state of Alabama. He grew up right alongside the road up from the plains. Hugh Freeze probably looking into the transfer portal for adding in a running back. Alabama, you want to go play for the GOAT? You want to go play for national titles? There's a proven concept there. We've seen it time and time again. Nick Saban, King Crocodile is what I call him because he adapts and he refuses to die. USC's got a ton of money in the NIL collective. They're going to the Big Ten. What do we know about Big Ten? Physical football, but if you're dynamic enough to sling it around the yard, that's an added bonus. Why not add in a fortified running back that will transpire and translate your team? Colorado, Deion Sanders. We've heard it time and time again over the last year and a half. It costs money to go ahead and add in a player. We're willing to spend that type of funds. Well, the best player in the transfer portal has now come out. How are you going to spend to go ahead and get him? Any one of these teams could be a fit for him. I personally think Ole Miss is the best fit for him. But let's get back to Ole Miss real fast, then we'll close it out with Quinshon Judkins and what I expect to happen. For the Rebels, I'm not as worried as you probably are. I understand there's going to be a bit of a wayside moment where you have to take a giant exhale and go, we might have lost our best player. We might have seen the clutches of a college football playoff berth be snatched from us. And once again, here we are in Tier 2. Let me make this abundantly clear. If your defense, with all the players added in, step up, and they from, say, the 88th ranked pass defense to the 35th ranked pass defense, if your pass rush continues to be fortified alongside Pegas, alongside Ivy, alongside Barrett, alongside Nolan, alongside Fumi and Yellen, any one of those guys, you're in a great spot defensively. Your schedule, very beautiful. It's very relaxed. You have one game to truly worry about, and that game's going to be played at Vaughn. It's against Georgia. You win that game, in my opinion, you're coasting all the way through to Atlanta. And then, once you're in Atlanta, we know what happens. Offensively, you lose a running back, you gain a premier wide receiver. You lose a number 3 wide receiver in Dayton Wade. Well, now your attention turns to one of two things. You look at what you have with a guy like Matt Jones, who comes back with 2 touchdowns in 2023, or the transfer portal, and you do exactly what you have to do, what Quinshon Judkins is doing. Fortify your roster with the running back you trust, because unfortunately, Ulysses Bentley is out the door. But I don't worry about Ole Miss. I don't. I still think that they are a contender. I still believe that they're a roster that is built to win now. I still believe, even though they are losing, probably a part of their production that took up roughly 30% of the success with the offense, you are fine. You are fine. You're not great. You're not elite anymore. It's going to definitely hurt you in the standings, but you're still fine. I still believe you're a top 10 team going into 2024. I still believe you have an offense that people are salivating over and are fearing in their boots. I still believe your defense can be phenomenal next year. There's so much optimism in Oxford. Hold on to it. But when it comes to Quinshon Judkins, this is the new norm of college football. And Lane Kiffin, unfortunately, might have learned a hard lesson in the process. It's one thing to add in all of these defensive talents. It's one thing to go out and add in a premier wide receiver. It's one thing to continue to bring back players of prime positions. But if you believe that you have something special at a position of value, and I'm not saying running back is an elite position of value, but for the Ole Miss Rebels and for the SEC, it 100% is. You have that position, you have to make sure you prioritize it. You added in a ton of defensive talent. That's great. You brought back your starting quarterback, consistency, continuity, team chemistry, all there. You're losing a big part of your production. And it's understandable to why Quinshon Judkins, in a world where NIL runs most of college football, this reigns supreme. I think that there's a shot he comes back. I think that there's a shot he goes to the highest bidder. I think that there's a shot that Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Florida State, any team that potentially Ole Miss could see in the college football playoff or during the regular season finds a way to bring him on in for a visit. I could see all that happening. But at the end of the day, this is the new norm of college football. So you have to prioritize first your players and then turn your attention to those on the outside. Because Quinshon Judkins, they don't grow on trees. They are truly curly fries found in a bag of straight salt. Thank you so much for watching that video. Don't hit the X button yet. Make sure you hit subscribe to keep up with all of our daily content found on Just Saying It and anything else that we post on this channel. Bye.